Falcon fans around Atlanta right now are going into the 2025 season skeptical and yet excited because, of course, the Atlanta Falcons have reloaded. They have added to their roster. They are going into the season with loads and loads of firepower, but some people are still on the edge or on the fence wondering if they can really get it done. And in my honest opinion, the NFL is completely terrified of these Atlanta Falcons because things are going to get chippy, and they definitely have. Of course, during the camp and things of that such, James Pierce Jr. has just been wrecking havoc. Fights been breaking out. Things have just been happening, and I am so excited. But there's one particular person and one position, in my honest opinion, that really brings everything together. This piece really brings together. And just to be completely honest, to be specific, the NFL is going to be completely terrified of Michael Penix Jr. because I know for a fact that this young man isn't to be played with. He doesn't deal with the disrespect, and that's something that I stand behind. I mean, we have definitely seen quarterbacks come and go. We've seen quarterbacks come and go, and we know that some of them, they might just keep it quiet. They might hear them be called out of their name, and they'll just, bypass it or whatnot. But we'll get into that because Michael Penix, he was actually spoke to the press about what had happened at training camp a couple of days ago. I think it was yesterday, as a matter of fact. It wasn't today, but it was yesterday, where Michael Penix Jr. got into a little skirmish on the field. They explained it in detail, but I just broke up a couple pieces of it and basically explaining the kind of person that we're dealing with when we look at the quarterback. That's why you see behind me, that's my quarterback. As the famous T.O., as T.O. coins it, of course, the whole situation between him, Tony Romo, and the Cowboys not making it to the next round of the playoffs. He was doing it tearfully at the podium and was like, that's my quarterback. This is my quarterback. And I really support this young man going into the season. I'm one of those fans that I'm excited because I know this is going to be a different season for the Atlanta Falcons, and it's only a matter of time before all of America sees it. Let me go ahead and welcome in the show because I didn't say hey to everybody, but what's going on, everyone? My name is Walter Pollard. This is Alpha Male Sports, and definitely I appreciate everyone who has watched my content, who's watching this content. Definitely hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Send this to as many people as you can. I cover everything. I cover football, basketball. I like baseball, but right now the Atlanta Braves aren't doing diddly squat, and it's kind of pointless. Actually, to be completely honest, I would actually put the Atlanta Dream I know the Braves got lineage and history in Atlanta. That's fine, but when things are bad, things are bad. So shouts out to the Atlanta Dream because I know that they're like number 1 or 2. No, I think they're like number 2 or 3 in the Eastern Division or Eastern Conference of the WNBA. They have a legitimate shot at winning it all. So I completely support these young women, and I want them to, hey, y'all get it done. Y'all get it done. And I'm going to definitely keep, I'll have some stuff about them later. But right now, I got to talk about my man, Mike Penix, what he's been doing. Michael Penix, I don't want to, some people are very specific about how they're, said Mike or Michael or whatnot. But of course, during camp, a day or so, yesterday, it was actually yesterday, there had been something that, there was a skirmish. There was I know y'all, I'm saying skirmish, but that's something we call a skirmish, a fight, if you will. Let's just go with fight. You know what I mean? But there was a fight on the field, and basically it was a pile up of a bunch of players and things of that such. And then when everything started to unfold and they were able to pull the players off of each other or whatnot, Michael Penix was at the bottom of this pile, and he was in all essence defending himself. Things had been going well for the Atlanta Falcons, and things were, looking really well going up against the Tennessee Titans and their number ones. And of course, one of the things that head coach Raheem Morris has been talking about throughout camp is whether or not Michael Penix will be playing in the preseason at all. And the big debate is, well, is he going to get live reps? Well, he's been getting a lot of live reps versus the number ones, and they have fashioned the training camp as to where they're taking on their number ones versus the number ones, whatever. And it almost gives you a chance to look at your team itself and not have to worry about injury and things of that such. It's almost like a controlled environment, unlike being in a preseason game that definitely means nothing. Back to the subject. He was at the bottom of the pile, and just being completely honest, you had a lot of players excited because they just seen their quarterback, defending himself, and they were, right behind him doing the exact same thing.
Our quarterback's different. And I was
like, that's my quarterback. You dig what I'm saying? Like, he's different. He's different. And I do feel the exact same way when you hear that or when you see that. It's super dope. But taking it a step further, when you heard him at the press conference later that day, they had asked him about it, and just the swagger that this young man has. Of course, he has the do-rag. Actually, side note, I want to see if we get a wave check on this young man. Nobody has thought to ask him, hey, what's up under the do-rag? Pull that off. Let's see if you got, waves up under there or braids or whatnot. Like, come on, like, what's up under the do-rag? But anyway, he has this swagger that, hey, you can ask me, I'll tell you what you need to know, but I am a man at the end of the day. That's what I got from watching. And it could be a small thing. You might not see what I see, but this showed me a lot about the quarterback that we have, because in the past, we haven't had the quarterback that was in your face or that would take over or take charge until it was needed. You dig what I'm saying? Until he had to do so. Mike Penix looks like he takes charge right out the gate.
They probably looked at me as just a quarterback. I wasn't that type of person. But
and of course, that's him explaining, the issue or what had led to the fight. He basically was saying, hey, they thought that I was that kind of quarterback, and you could almost like you could get one easy off on me, or you can get away with saying some slick stuff. What I've heard through the grapevine, through some of my sources that were at the Falcons training camp, Jarvis Davis, he had basically said that someone called him the B word. Basically, someone said that you were, whatever, and he didn't take too kindly to that. And, of course, Mike Penix had to do what he felt was necessary.
But, like, when disrespect come in, it's like, all right, this ain't football.
I understand. When the disrespect comes in, that is something I can't tolerate. And there's another quarterback that spoke about this, but I don't think people necessarily hear him because he is who he is, respectfully. But Cam Newton had even spoke about how it gets very wordy and chippy sometimes when you're going up against certain defenses, certain players on other teams and whatnot, and they might let something disrespectful come out of their mouth, and they might get sideways and saying something. In my opinion, you got to rectify that at the moment. You got to do something right then and there. And Mike Penix felt the need to do so. Think about this. When the Carolina Panthers, they made it to the Super Bowl, that camp or that preseason or whatnot, or that camp stint that they had, Cam Newton got into a fight leading up into the season. No, I'm not saying that because Michael Penix got into a fight, the Falcons are going to the Super Bowl. No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is when you have a quarterback that can do that, or that isn't scared of asserting himself, or he doesn't sit back and say, hey, guys, get him. No, he's leading the charge. You saw Mike Penix leading the charge. And as a former offensive lineman, I am excited, and that makes me want to fight for somebody. You know what I'm saying? When you get somebody that will lead the charge or that isn't scared to run up in somebody's face, you're not scared either. You're almost ready for somebody to pop off, because then you get to see what you and that other person have. And then just to take it another step further, one of the things that I have noticed going into this preseason and actually going into the season in general, a lot of people have been saying whether or not the Atlanta Falcons should trade away Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is in the final year of his contract. I think he can re-sign with the Falcons if they so choose to offer him a contract extension, or offer him, some more money or whatever, because, he's at the end of his contract. And Michael Penix from last year has said, with the core that we have, and I'm not saying this verbatim, but I'm saying with the core that they have, he's so confident that he can hit everybody, Kyle Pitts included.
See, we got KP the ball today.
Like, seriously. Like, you hear it in his voice, almost like, y'all don't have to say it. I will. I'm not going to wait for you guys to bring it up, because I've been in those rooms where the reporters, they're already writing out what they're going to say as soon as coach gets up to the podium. They already know what they're going to ask. And sometimes they might get a bit froggy, and they might ask it in a way that could either be condescending or, disrespectful on the slide to Kyle Pitts. And now you as a quarterback have to either answer to it or rectify it, or even, proverbially slap that reporter in the mouth, because you don't want that type of disrespect to, funnel into your locker room. But you see, this is the kind of quarterback that is not afraid to say, all right, bet. Y'all see we got you see we got KP the ball today, right? Yeah. That's the kind of quarterback that the Atlanta Falcons have. And then not to mention taking it back to, the game where he had to duel it out against Jaden Daniels, the Commanders in Washington. You see there, he was able to connect with Kyle Pitts. Here's my thing. Say what you want. Have your opinion. I don't want anyone to think that I want you to think how I do. Have your opinion. Think. You ain't got to think how I do. I don't have to think how you do. But just think, okay? Going into this season, this is a proven year for Kyle Pitts. Again, you have a lot of other weapons in places. This could be a year where Kyle Pitts even has some numbers that rivals his very first year in the NFL. Of course, he had a future Hall of Famer, if you would say so, Matt Ryan, or, Matt Ryan, whatever you want to call it. He's in the Ring of Honor with the Falcons. He's the Falcons' best quarterback. Let's just put it like that. He hadn't had a good year since. And so now we have a solidified quarterback in Mike Penix, who is able to lead the charge, and not only lead the charge, but lead his teammates to victory each and every Sunday. I cannot wait for the first game we take on the Bucs. These Atlanta Falcons are nothing to be played with. And I'm telling you right now, if you are an Atlanta Falcon and you don't feel like I do, yeah, you might as well just stay at home. I don't want to see you at any tailgate, especially when we start winning. Don't get on the bandwagon. Just stay where you're at and wave your little flag or whatnot. My name is Walter Pollard. This is Alpha Male Sports, and I'll be signing out. Peace.